think my favorite was just the kids. The kids, I love the kids. I mean, Fruitport had the best young people in the world, you know? I mean, there just was nowhere else.
I think one of the things that I would recommend, or that I learned at Fruitport, was really the value of resourcefulness. And so I think one of the things was to not be dictated by things around you, to make choices for you, or to be the person that other people want you to be, but to think about what you want to do and make those things happen and work hard for those.
When you think about someone's life and the impact of their career, when that person is in education, all of the things that they're working on end up impacting classrooms across the country. And there's really no way to know how many students have benefited from Steph's work on collaboration.
He was just on fire. I mean, he averaged 230. That's unheard of. He literally blew the field away when it came to match play.
And just to be a part of this and have my family's name in this Hall of Fame, it means the world to me. It's the most humbling thing I've ever been a part of. And I can't wait to celebrate this day with those who are in, those who are supporting me, because this is the kind of program that allows the interaction, the support, the continued effort to keep Fruitport what it is. It's a good, wonderful community of hardworking people that truly want the best for everybody that's involved. And I'm now forever a part of that. My family will always be a part of that. And that's what this induction means to me.
To the 9th Annual Fruitport Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. We're excited to be here tonight and are so happy you have joined us this evening to help honor and celebrate our 5 deserving inductees. Formerly known as the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame, outstanding athletes, teams, coaches, and supporters of Fruitport Athletics have been honored with induction into the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame since 2013.
In 2020, the Fruitport Education Foundation joined forces with the high school athletic department to revamp the Hall of Fame. What once was the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame is now the Fruitport Hall of Fame. It has broadened in scope to include anyone who has graduated from Fruitport, worked for Fruitport schools, or contributed to the greater good of Fruitport Community Schools. In addition to the original category of athletic achievements, we are proud to recognize and celebrate individual and group achievements under the added categories of academic and career accomplishments and service to Fruitport Community Schools as well. Tonight we celebrate the second class of outstanding individuals in each of the 3 categories.
This evening we are honoring 5 amazing individuals. We will hear their stories and learn how Fruitport schools have played an important role in each of their lives. We will also hear how Fruitport schools and our greater Fruitport community have benefited from these individuals as well. Over the years, our inductees have earned many titles: professor, doctor, researcher, teacher, physician, all-stater, champion, coach, and valued community member. Tonight, though, we will add one more title to each individual: Hall of Famer. Before we get started with our ceremony, we'd like to take a moment to thank some special individuals and businesses that helped make this night to remember. First, we would like to recognize and thank our Hall of Fame committee of Dave Hazekamp, Carrie Jacobs, Brooke Johnson, Jeannie McLean, Russ Swanson, Amy Upham, Steve Wilson, John Winskus, Sarah Wojciechowski, Rocky Ibarra, and our committee chairperson, Tina Van Boom. A round of applause for them, please. These individuals committed countless hours of hard work, planning, communication, and research.
We would also like to thank Dave Loring and his daughter Kaylee, who are both Fruitport grads, for the video presentations we will view this evening. Each video, along with the promotional video that was shared leading up to this event, was created by Dave and Kaylee, Dave Loring Video Productions. Dave and Kaylee are a dynamic team who do outstanding work with videotaping, splicing, editing, and putting all the pieces together to produce an amazing presentation. We thank them both for their time and their talents. In addition, we would like to thank Jeff Grossenbacher, who is working the sound booth for us this evening, Colleen Merkins, who is serving as our event photographer, and students from the National Honor Society who helped set up for tonight's celebration and who will be serving food in the cafeteria after the ceremony. Lastly, we would like to recognize and thank the many sponsors who helped make tonight possible. Hooligans, Fruitport Orchard Market, the FCS Food Service Program, Bella Maria's, Buffalo Wild Wings, Crawville Bakery, Source One Digital, Johnson Auto Sales, O&M Kimball, and Tower Pinkster. We encourage each of you to help support these local businesses throughout the year. Please give Dave Loring Video Productions, our workers and sponsors, a round of applause.
At this time, we'd like to introduce our MC for this evening, Tara Miller Hernandez. Tara is a 1999 Fruitport graduate who once told Roger Scudder, her high school media teacher, that she wanted to be a sports anchor one day. After graduating from Fruitport and Michigan State University with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a minor in Spanish, Tara went to work in Augusta, Georgia, becoming the first female sports anchor to work in that market. From there, she worked at Fox 17 in Grand Rapids and also spent time at ESPN working alongside some of the best sports anchors in the world. Tara left the journalism world in 2013 and has been working in the media relations with stints at Gerald R. Ford International Airport, Trinity Health, and currently she serves as Executive Communications Advisor for Kohl's Stores, where she supports the retailer's top executives in public relations and communications. Tara and her husband, Tony, a proud Marine Corps veteran, have a daughter, Haven, and a Labradoodle puppy. Please welcome back our very own Fruitport alum, Tara Miller Hernandez.
Thank you so much. Always love having a warm welcome back to Fruitport. I will say though, we're going to get through this program. I know we have a little game that is on for tonight, and this is the only time you will hear a Michigan State Spartan say "Go Blue" is when she's at Fruitport. So I had to, picking out my outfit today, I made sure to wear green, show my distaste of Michigan. Just a few little subtle hints there, but we're here to celebrate a lot of Michigan State and Michigan alums. So. We're all one big family tonight, and we can fight later, right? All serious though, I always love coming back to Fruitport. This Hall of Fame induction ceremony was started in 2013. Ken Ernie had called me and said, "Hey, will you come?" And I was working at Fox 17 at the time, and of course wanted to be a part of something so special where we can honor and celebrate our Fruitport alums. We're a small town, but we show up big in so many ways in some of the impacts we've had in the world. And I would be remiss if we didn't recognize the fact that this is our first year without two icons who were a part of the Fruitport Hall of Fame and did so many wonderful things to work hard behind the scenes, Doug Vanderwall and Ken Ernie. So before we get started with the program, if we can just pause, have a moment of silence, remember both Doug, Ken, and all of the Fruitport alums that we've lost this year. Thank you for that. All right, let's get started with our program. We have a great list of honorees tonight, starting with Colleen Kendrick, class of 1994. Fruitport allowed her the time to develop her interest in science and leadership, which she has thrived in over the years. After graduating from Fruitport, Colleen began her journey in the science world by attending Taylor University, where she was magna cum laude, and then she went on to Indiana University School of Medicine, where she earned her Doctor of Medicine. She has done wonderful things in the medicine world, and let's hear more about Colleen.
became interested in science, I think partly because I had a grandmother that was a science major. Actually, both of my grandmothers, well, I still have one is about to be 100 in December, but my grandmother on my dad's side was a zoology major, probably in a time where there weren't very many female zoology majors. She ended up working on the family farm for her career, but she did teach us a lot about science. I was always very interested in animals, so I thought for a long time I'd be a veterinarian, and just really found, biology to be the most interesting over other topics. So I don't know if there was any singular actual experience, but I did enjoy sort of being in the outdoors, learning about different things, learning about animals. So I think I remember sort of switching in high school from wanting to do like biology with animals or veterinary science to doing more medicine, because I think I realized I liked people and serving people. I did have a physics teacher that was coach, and I think it started with an R, that was quite charismatic. So I had a fun time in that class. That was like a senior year class. We did a science fair, and I did mine on the genetics of hamster color. So I bred all these levels of hamsters to sort of see which color trait was dominant. I think I did every club I could fit in. So I think I did French club. I ended up going to France. I did drama. I was in some theater productions. I did quiz bowl, science olympiad.
Competitive swim for the YMCA. She was in Girl Scouts. Symphonic band. She was marching band. She was a drum major. And she just always was involved in everything. And she just was really driven to do her absolute best in everything that she did.
I really loved the group of students that I was in the same classes with, and so I'm still in touch with many of them. So they were the kids that were in maybe the AP classes, but that group was such an encouragement to me personally to keep achieving, and also just great friends to have people that know you and care about you just for who you are.
I think what I remember most about Colleen was her sense of humor. She just had this ability to command a room when she was doing something. Usually for us it wasn't a room, it was maybe a school bus on the way to a competition or a Tuesday morning, and it was just infectious, her laugh, and she had this great sense of humor and wit about her. And I think what was really important is the fact that Colleen never took any victims with her sense of humor. She never made fun of anybody, and she always was able to do everything with the highest sense of integrity, and she never compromised what she believed in, but she still made everybody feel just great to be around.
I went to Taylor University, which is in the middle of nowhere, Indiana. So I got a leadership scholarship to go there. It's similar to Hope College, but it's in Indiana. And studied biology, pre-medicine, spent a lot of years doing research, which I was very excited about, and really fueled my interest in research, which I've carried with me even since becoming a physician. So it was always for me between doing sort of like a PhD and being a biology PhD, or becoming a physician, and still doing research when I was a physician. So I chose the latter. I went to medical school at Indiana University, School of Medicine, which I really enjoyed that experience. I got to spend 2-3 months overseas in Africa doing some medical work, which I really enjoyed. I had started my passion for being in Africa when I was an undergrad at Taylor. I spent a January in very rural Ethiopia, like no running water, no electricity in 1996 or 1995. So I kept doing some of that work even after, and even like this December, I'll go to a laboratory meeting in South Africa. I've continued my interest and love of trying to figure out how to serve and intervene in certain health disparities in Africa. Yeah, so when I was in college, I read a lot of what I call the hemorrhagic fever novels. So I spent a lot of time thinking about Ebola and kind of wanting to do infectious diseases and Ebola research, and that kind of aligned with my interests in Africa. But eventually, sort of, as I found, I'd make choices, and those choices weren't leading me closer to maybe practicing in Africa. I really was led to, I really wanted to work as a clinician, and I really loved Atlanta, Georgia, because it was near CDC and there's some interesting things. So that's sort of what got me to Emory. So I started in Emory 2001 as an intern. I was really shocked when I, ended up being on our biocontainment team, which is sort of a high reliability team to take care of infections that may occur in CDC employees. We've had this occupational health relationship with CDC since 2002. And I'm actually now the director of that relationship. But in 2014, I was on the team, one of the physicians on the team, and one of the laboratorians on the team. And yeah, sure enough, I'll never forget that whole experience, but July 31st of 2014, we got the call that they would be transferring Kemp Brantley to our hospital for care in the United States. So the first patient to be cared with Ebola virus disease in the United States. And after that, we received 3 additional patients with Ebola virus disease. We tested a lot of people to rule them out for Ebola. We had 3 individuals that didn't make the news that had high-risk exposures to Ebola virus disease while they were in West Africa. And we spent a lot of time supporting the other hospitals that ended up with repatriated citizens that ended up with Ebola virus disease. So there was a lot of ups and downs in terms of how that was perceived by the public. I will tell you, as somebody that's gotten to watch sort of the whole story from beginning to end, caring for patients with Ebola virus disease in the United States created sort of a need and a priority for developing therapeutics against Ebola virus disease and a vaccine. And so now I think it's really exciting that most of all of the disease stays in the country, because we are doing really effective vaccine interventions, even in war-torn areas or conflict areas such as in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They are able to care for patients using these sort of little isopods. So everybody gets their own room. They get to get therapeutics in the field, and their contacts can all be vaccinated. So it's an amazing thing that happened. And I think the awareness that bringing these individuals to the United States, which was very unpopular to many, kind of helped push that research along. After care of those patients with Ebola virus disease, we ended up creating a program called the National, now it's called Emerging Special Pathogens Training and Education Center, where we actually educated hospitals and visited hospitals to help them be ready for serious communicable diseases. And all that work we did for about 5 years really made a difference, I think, during the pandemic.
We have been preparing since this was really even announced or was a concern in China. I think that we, at the individual healthcare level, and then also coordinating federally and in our state health departments, we've seen a ramp up that has been unlike any other.
New progress in the pursuit to grapple with the coronavirus. Dr. Kraft, Emory's Associate Chief Medical Officer, says results for COVID-19 testing is now taking less than a day.
This has dramatically changed the way that we're managing our patient workflow. And just yesterday, we have all of our results are being done within 24 hours, meaning we finally got all the results back from those referral laboratories that were taking 7 to 10 days.
All of Emory's healthcare workers who exhibit symptoms will now have access to the test, an important measure to keep its staff healthy. It's something Dr. Kraft learned when she coordinated the Ebola response at Emory about 5 years ago.
Remember, the message that the vaccine gives makes just this protein, so it's not making the virus in your body. It's sending a message to the cell machinery to make this protein. And if this protein is changed by the variant, that's when we get concerned. The good news on an mRNA vaccine is that it's pretty easy to change the message. So we can actually change the message to look more like the variant, and that can be manufactured relatively rapidly.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I was really proud of is that our hospital enrolled the most patients in the remdesivir study in the whole world. So that was an exciting thing to be a part of, giving so many individuals very rapid therapeutics against COVID. We also brought up all of our system testing for COVID pretty quickly. That was exciting to be a part of. And there's still a lot that's happening. Healthcare is fairly broken after COVID. And so I think that there's a lot of work to still be done. I think one of the things that I would recommend, or that I learned at Fruitport, was really the value of resourcefulness. And so I think one of the things was to not be dictated by things around you, to make choices for you, or to be the person that other people want you to be, but to think about what you want to do and make those things happen and work hard for those. So I call it sort of the internal locus of control, where you're not waiting for things to happen for you and you're not letting other situations make decisions for you. You're taking ownership of your own choosing your own adventure. I didn't know there was a Hall of Fame for Fruitport, and I was excited to be able to share, what Fruitport's meant to me. And obviously I still come back to Muskegon and Fruitport quite often to visit my family, and so it's a real privilege.
Our next inductee is Stephanie Teasley, class of 1977. After graduating from Fruitport, Stephanie attended Kalamazoo College and graduated with a degree in psychology in 1981. In 1992, she earned her PhD in cognitive and developmental psychology, where the focus of her dissertation was on why and how collaborating with peers improves student learning. With her PhD in hand, Stephanie came to the University of Michigan, where she eventually joined what was then a new school called the School of Information. Presenting her research has literally taken her around the world. Let's hear more about Stephanie Teasley.
I grew up with two brothers, one older and one younger, and we were the children of divorced parents, which was fairly uncommon in that time. I read a lot of books, and I still do. And I read books for fun. And my friends would say things to me like, "You use a lot of big words." And librarians, starting in elementary school and at the Fruitport Public Library, always let me check out more books than were the limit for a single kid. And I remember a specific time in a middle school English class when the teacher was giving an assignment and they let everyone choose their own book for the assignment. But he walked over to me and put a book down on my desk and said, "Here, you're going to read this book." And it was The Count of Monte Cristo. And I looked at him and I was so annoyed, because it's like, that's not fair. How come everybody else gets to read whatever they want, but you're making me read this book? And then I was completely engrossed and ultimately so happy that he challenged me in this way, because I love that book. And so that was really, a moment when a teacher stepped up and said, "I know what you're capable of, and I'm going to challenge you." And that was really important to me. So in high school, I did a number of different things for activities. I was in band, I was in forensics, and I took art classes all 4 years. I took French classes, and then I was in the honors math and honors English classes. But I would say in general that I was pretty nerdy. And as evidence of that, the senior class voted me the girl who was most likely to succeed. So I guess if I'm here today, that's recognition that they were right. So it was never a question about whether I would go to college. Although as someone who really didn't have anybody else in their family at the time who went to college, I knew very little about how to go about that. But I can point to one specific person who is responsible for me actually getting through the process of selecting and applying to college, and that is Dave Fisher, who was my high school counselor. He knew and cared about my personal circumstances, and he offered to be helpful to me in many ways. because of the various scholarships that I had to stay in the state of Michigan. And Mr. Fisher told me I should just apply to the two best schools in the state, the University of Michigan for a big school and Kalamazoo College for a small school. I picked Kalamazoo College. U of M was just too big and terrifying, which is funny now in hindsight because I've been on this campus for over 30 years as a faculty member. After graduating from K College with a degree in psychology, I took some time working at various kinds of jobs, and it's because I wasn't sure grad school was for me because I'd had a lot of trouble with statistics courses in college, and I thought that meant I wasn't cut out for research. If I couldn't do the math, I couldn't do the research. But that was really wrong, thankfully. So I got a position about 5 years after graduation to be a research assistant for a professor at the University of Minnesota, where I was living at the time, and I loved this job. I was collecting data from preschool kids who were working together on a computer, and we were interested in finding out how working together could advance their learning. If neither kid knew the answer to a problem, how could they come up with the correct answer just by working together? Soon I realized that I was doing everything that my grad school friends were doing, and that I was actually quite good at it. And that was because I could let the computer calculate the statistics. So after that job was done, the grant was done, I got a strong letter of recommendation from Dr. Perlmutter, who I was working with, and I got into graduate school to study cognitive development at the University of Pittsburgh. And here I was able to continue my interest in collaborative learning, working with Dr. Lauren Resnick at the Learning Research and Development Center. Today, my most cited paper is called The Construction of Shared Knowledge in Collaborative Problem Solving. And it was one I wrote with another grad student. And this paper has been cited by over 3,500 other scholars and has come to be the standard reference for the concept of collaborative learning. So after I got my PhD from the University of Pittsburgh, I moved to Ann Arbor, where my husband, Tom Finhold, and we both got jobs in the psychology department here at U of M. He was a graduate from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, and so we met when we were both in grad school, and we were headed to do an internship at Xerox's Palo Alto Research Center, which then was very much a major hotbed of innovative computing technology. And people introduced us because they said, you're both going to the same place to work and you don't know anybody else, so you should know each other. And that was really the beginning of what's over a 30-year marriage now. And when we came to Michigan, we were both in psychology. He was in organizational psychology and I was in developmental psychology. So after a few years in the psych department at Michigan, a new school was created here, and it was called the School of Information. And in this school, I had an exciting set of colleagues to work with, and two colleagues in particular, Doctors Judy and Gary Olson, not only became collaborators, but also provided Tom and I with a great role model for how to be two academic couples who work together in the same school.
It's a new school that studies human behavior in the digital world. We did research together in the 1990s and early 2000s. We published 7 papers together, but also we were very good friends. She could see patterns of behavior, recommend changes in practices or technology. I mentioned that she's persistent. Her career path has not been easy, but she stuck with it and has been making wonderful contributions all along the way. As I said, we worked on how to make distance work easier and more successful, something that's had a lot of impact in the last few years. And so many in lockdown were working from home over video conferencing. She was a pioneer in a field called learning analytics, where by tracking data on individual students, they can intervene when a student is having trouble to guide them back to paths for success.
With the Olsons, we studied how biomedical researchers could use collaboration technology to speed up a theoretical understanding of how the AIDS virus worked, because that was really unknown at that point in time. Judy and I studied how design teams comprised of car engineers were using technology to build engines when the core members of the design teams were together in Michigan. but other members of the team were located in other countries and other time zones. But more recently, my work is focused specifically back on student learning, which is really the thing that I love. I've assembled a team to create a student dashboard that provides learners with views of their activities and progress in a course, and it presents them to them on a screen. We want to help students understand what they need to do to be successful by helping them plan their next steps, see if they're catching up, and to see how they're doing in the class. And this dashboard has been used by thousands of students at U of M, and in fact, other universities are beginning to adopt it on their campuses as well. So that's very exciting for me. The papers that I've written over my career are, on average, in total cited about 750 times a year. And I presented my work all around the globe, including many countries in Europe, as well as Greece, Estonia. I've been to Russia 3 times, China, Japan, Australia. So my love of travel that I first really got to experience at K College has been one of the delights and benefits of being a professor and having research that people around the world are interested in, because it's taken me to many interesting places, and I've met lots of really interesting people.
She was the director of the PhD program in the School of Information, a position that I held previously. And now she's a program officer at the National Science Foundation, helping them support high-quality researchers. She convenes panels of researchers to judge a set of applications, deciding which ones get the highly coveted research money. She has kept at it, doing good things all along the way.
She could recognize when there was some information that I didn't understand. So there's a lot of jargon and a lot of sort of hidden syllabus in academia. And Steph knew that, and she didn't think that we as students were dumb. She thought we didn't know, and that's a really big difference. Like, but there are some things that you just can't be expected to know until you've been in a profession or in a place for a while.
She's also brought those qualities to the way she leads organizations. She's been in several positions of leadership in the past 5-10 years, and she's created opportunities for people within those organizations and has a real vision for the way she wants those organizations to run, which, when I think about it, those organizations impact lots and lots of researchers, junior scholars, graduate students who are coming up in the field, and to have those examples and have those values and manifest in the way the organizations that Steph has been a part of are run, her impact across the field is being multiplied. When you think about someone's life and the impact of their career, when that person is in education, all of the things that they're working on end up impacting classrooms across the country. And there's really no way to know how many students have benefited from Steph's work on collaboration. There's really no way to know how many students have been impacted by some of the work that she's been doing in building the field of learning analytics, which is an immense new space to impact classrooms, teachers' practice, and the way students can express themselves and the way their expertise is understood. There's really no way to know when someone has a career that's interdisciplinary and has touched so many folks in academia and in research, how that gets multiplied when you think about the impacts on classrooms across the country.
It's hard to convey just how important working with her was for my own success. And I think this is something that I've tried to talk to her about. Also, just like having somebody who is, as I said, who's just human, but also does incredible work and helps other people do their work is just a really special experience to be a part of. And I'm just really grateful that I got to be her first student, and then that we continue to work together and we continue to be colleagues. Like, that's pretty great for me that she is still around and is still somebody I can count on, and still someone who's doing work that matters, not just for herself, but for other people.
The Hall of Fame award is well deserved by Stephanie. She's made the world a better place, and her education started at Fruitport. Well done.
So while I've talked a lot for this video about my professional career, I would be remiss without acknowledging the role that my family, particularly my husband and my 2 sons, have played in my life. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the life that I have today without my terrific husband, Tom Finhold, and my 2 wonderful sons, Anders Finhold and Carson Finhold, who are the joy of my life and continue to be inspirations for me about young people today and issues that are important today. And I'm confident that I've raised 2 sons who will continue to make the world a better place. And I couldn't ask for more than that. So thank you to my lovely family. My brothers are terrific. My mother and father have passed, but I have my aunt, my mother's sister, my Aunt Mary, who is just a wonderful person and has also been important in my life, and my extended family, who I don't see that much because I'm over here in Ann Arbor and they're mostly over there in West Michigan. But as you can tell from even my work, people are what, and connections with people are what really inspire me, and so the people in my life are wonderful, and I'm grateful to have them.
Shout out to the class of 77.
Our next inductee is Kyle Ferguson from the class of 2006. He was a member of the bowling, golf, and baseball teams during his high school career at Fruitport, earning 8 varsity letters. He went on to win the 2006 MHSAA Boys Bowling Individual State Championship and earned all state honors. During his run to the title, Kyle bowled the 3rd highest 2-game total in MHSAA finals history. He was also at one point held or was part of 7 different bowling records at Fruitport. Let's hear more on Kyle Ferguson.
Grew up playing all types of sports, anywhere from tennis, basketball, bowling, hockey, golf. But I did get into bowling in about 10th grade, to be honest with you. I've been bowling all my life, never really took it too seriously, but I grew up playing hockey most of my life. And when I got to 10th grade, hockey wasn't offered at Fruitport. So fortunately I had my biology teacher at the time, Mr. Bowen. Bowling had just become a varsity sport in my 10th grade. So I literally went the day of tryouts. I didn't have a bowling ball, no shoes, anything. I just went to the tryouts, went and bowled some games, but at that point I was hooked. So my sister's boyfriend at the time was one of the better bowlers on the team. So immediately after that, I went to my parents and said, hey, I'd like to get into high school bowling. It seems like it'd be a good opportunity to do something in the wintertime.
Bowling and golf are very similar, and I know he excelled at both, but it's an individual sport, but also a team sport. So a great quality is being both. You're a leader by example, but you're also a leader with communication with your teammates, and he did both quite well.
We had a few almost Kyle caliber golfers, but then we had some kind of lower level golfers as well, and Kyle always took the time, his time, to help them and share his knowledge with the game. So he was a great teammate. The athletics part of it, he's humble. Like I said, he was one of the best golfers, if not the best, the school has seen. The conference that year, the region that year, and even state. He was really warranted a state bid, but he's just very humble. And you would never know that he is the kind of athlete that he is. He just goes about his business often, usually almost every time I see him, with a smile on his face.
Some bowlers would say, oh, if I don't make this spare, I'm gonna need to strike out to have a chance to win. Where he says, when I convert this spare, I only need a double to win the match. So he kind of puts his pressure on his opponent, and that's really his biggest X factor, in my opinion.
During the season, you know, we would have practice every day, and if we didn't have practice, we would have a match and a couple hours a day, and you could find Kyle spending the extra time, putting in the extra effort to make sure that his skills were honed for the big matches.
It really helps he's a lefty. That's a huge factor in bowling. If you still have to repeat shots though, but he's the first one at practice, last one to leave.
Practiced as much as I could in the fall, winters, and by the time bowling season came around my junior year, I made the varsity team, and we had a pretty good season. I was bowled pretty well, and I got to the regionals, and I was 7 pins short of qualifying for the states that year. So, you know, as you know, it's a tough thing to take, and I was more than determined to get to the state finals the following year. So, practiced, and then even more determined after golf season. Golf season, I just fell short of the state finals that year myself.
I do recall regionals, kind of Kyle and I actually talk about this periodically when I see him out in the community. I'm going to call it a coach's error. So Kyle and I played the golf course the day before, talked about this specific par 3, and I'll leave it at that. I'm going to leave the specifics out, but he made kind of a big number on that hole, that par 3, and probably cost him not probably, it did cost him a trip to the state tournament, something I regret. But again, speaking on Kyle, when we do talk about this, he basically laughs it off and says, you know what, no regrets, KT. We had a great time. I loved you as a coach. So that always makes my heart feel good, because something that, quite honestly, I think about sometimes. And it's
So I was more and more determined to get to the state final. So as soon as golf season was over, I was on the lanes practicing, got through the season, had a great season, qualified for the regionals, and had one of those once-in-a-lifetime days at the state championship, and was able to win the whole thing. I think there was about 35 to 40 bowlers, and I happened to be the best one that day, and it was a great experience. And
he was just on fire. I mean, he averaged 230. That's unheard of. So he literally blew the field away when it came to match play. I mean, he lost a game, but it was best 2 out of 3. But when you put up a 258 in the final match right out of the gate, that does something to your opponent. He was the type of competitor that never got rattled in bowling, and he would let his opponents make the mistake, not him. In his state championship run, he bowled 17 of a maximum 18 games. So in doing that, there was a lot of back and forth through the process, and he never flinched. He made his opponent make the errors.
It was over in Detroit, which at the time, high school bowling was way bigger in Detroit. It was just kind of in its infancy here on the west side. So to see all the kids come out and support the bowlers, you think, hey, it's a bowling match. It's a few people would be there. It'd be no. It was like you see on TV. There's bleachers. There was people yelling.
But he couldn't see it because I'm behind him. That was exactly behind him. No, it's more of a yeah. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. Or you get some of this. Right? Going, I have goosebumps now, just remember it. It was so exciting. And plus, his parents are there, and he had a Ferg fan club there. Back then, people, actually, the match was on the weekend, and it was out of town, and there was a handful of students that showed up to support him, his classmates. And instead of going to Disneyland, we all went to Applebee's or Chili's, I think, afterwards. But there was about a dozen of us, and it was the talk of the night. It was a lot of relief, a lot of emotions, but really just pure joy, and Kyle handled himself with pure class all the way. So he represented himself, his family, his school exceptionally well.
So first off, I want to thank a friend of mine. His name is Dylan Darga. He nominated me for the Hall of Fame. He kind of went behind my back, got all my old scrapbook stuff from my parents and wrote the nomination. It was pretty awesome. Dylan's a great friend of mine, been friends since high school, and we still are to this day, and we're very close. I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee for approving my nomination. Like I said, it's a great honor to be a part of a class of people that well represent Fruitport and well represent athletics through the school. I want to thank a lot of my friends, family, teammates, coaches. Last but not least, I want to thank my parents. Like I said before, they're there no matter what. They did whatever that was needed to take care of anything that I needed, whether it was equipment, lessons, traveling. They would, my parents worked multiple jobs during school just so they could support that. So they didn't have to do that. They did that out of the kindness of their heart, and they thought they saw my passion, and I love them to death for that, and couldn't thank them enough for everything they've done for me. But other than that, I appreciate this honor and everything that comes with it.
Our next inductee from the class of 1997 is Kurt Spyke. Kurt excelled on the pitcher's mound. He was voted all-conference, all-district, all-region in his junior and senior year of high school, and all-state honorable mention in 1996 and 97. As a senior during the 1997 varsity baseball team, they went 25-6 overall, 13-0 conference record to win the Seaway Conference Championship. Kurt recorded an 8-2 season with 76 innings pitched and 116 strikeouts. After graduation, Kurt earned a full athletic scholarship to Division I Oakland University, where he earned his varsity letter. Let's hear more on Kurt Spyke.
Athletics was always a part of my family. My dad, my brother, my sister, my mom was a gymnast in high school. My dad was an athlete at Fruitport as well. Everything we did seemingly revolved around sports.
Our neighbor lady, Mrs. Bright, had an old metal shed right next to our backyard. And she also had this lush garden beyond that shed. So playing catch, if you missed the ball, you weren't going to find it in her garden. So that metal shed served as a pretty good backstop. And when the ball hit the back of the shed, it made a real loud noise, and it would send us running, and we'd get yelled at by mom or dad. And I do remember my dad going over to Mrs. Bright's house saying, "I'd like to fix that shed for you, for my boys." And she said, "Oh no, that's okay. I just like watching them play baseball."
And far field is a time capsule for me. That's where we were at so much. I mean, that was our backyard. All the families that were involved in keeping far field up and going and organized, and the money being accounted for. So every kid got to play. Everybody had a uniform. Everybody had cleats, a glove, a bat. And then in the fall, you had a helmet, shoulder pads, and knee pads. And so from fall to winter, we had dynamite football, then Pee Wee, and then Bantam. And then once you left Bantam, that's when you got into 8th grade football, organized by the school. So it was go, go, go year round. All seasons were occupied by something. There was never any time where we let off. And I think with that robust offering that we always had, really made us better kids, made us better athletes, and it tired us out. So it put us in bed at a nice early time, which I'm sure my parents appreciated.
So our Little League coach was Kurt's dad, Norm Spyke, and Norm had a way about going about the game with, he had a spreadsheet and it was handwritten, and he had each inning mapped out on what position we'd play and how many innings each player would pitch. And I know it always got Kurt because back in the day we didn't have a pitch limit, but Coach Norm would always let us pitch 2 innings and then we'd rotate. And when we were playing Pinecrest, it really really showed Kurt's fire and drive to want to win, and Pinkrest was good, and Kurt was our best pitcher, and it was a close game, and it didn't matter. Norm pulled him out after his 2 innings, and Kurt was mad and wanted to win, but Norm's job was to get everybody playing time and cycle through pitchers, and I think we ended up losing, and I don't think Kurt was happy for a couple weeks.
Ross himself, Kurt's older brother, was an amazing athlete. Ross was quiet. Kurt was not quiet. Kurt was pretty rowdy. But I think, Kurt, expanding on, his drive to be better. Ross was an amazing athlete, and I think, they had that sibling rivalry where that younger sibling always wants to be better than the older brother. And I think that's also what which drove Kurt to be successful as well.
Freshman year was football, and I this is going to go against the Fruitport culture. I played because it was Fruitport. I wasn't exceptional at it. I had good hands. I was a tight end, but in Fruitport, it wasn't really a passing offense, so I was more of a glorified tackle. I did start my freshman year. That was a lot of fun. Again, it was more social hour for me than anything, and I'm sure there's a couple coaches that will readily agree that I looked at it that way. So then from football, we went into basketball, and that was a very defining moment for me, was basketball, because I thought I was pretty good. And there was a gentleman in my grade who precedes me in the Hall of Fame, Jared Olson. When you talk about a good athlete, there are two that jump out at me, and Jared's one of them. He can grab onto anything and go, and he went. And that was humbling, because when I saw Jared kind of go off, he got brought up to JV, and then it was me, Ryan Gim, and a few Mike Davis and Mike Jones and a few others, where we were on the freshman team. And then a couple guys got moved up to JV, and I stayed on the freshman team, and that hurt me. And so I asked Coach Pullman, because he was the varsity basketball coach at the time, and he was like, "What do you want me to tell you? You got to get better." Okay, so I tried. And then basketball season wrapped up my freshman year. And so over the winter, that's when you get ready for baseball. I had a really fun sophomore year, and I think I could have been moved up, but I don't think for me emotionally it was the right thing. It's like when you start a kid in school, they might be the right age to start kindergarten, but it might be better to keep them back to do another year of preschool before you put them in that environment. I think I needed another year on the JV level, and it was perfect for me, because I got the innings that I needed to pitch to become better, to hone my craft, and I was able still to play the position, and I played every single inning of every single game, either on the mound or at first base. There was no downtime for me.
By the time Kurt finished at Fruitport High School, he let his actions speak louder than his words. And that was not the case, I know, when he first started. I don't know if it was because he just wanted to be the center of attention, or because he was left-handed, or because he had an ideal brother, an older brother that was an idol for him. But he changed all that, and he is responsible for that. I'm sure that, like I said, I'm sure Norm, Rhonda, and Ross all probably spoke to him as well, but he's somebody that got it. And he really made it himself in regards to an attitude, because he was an outstanding pitcher for us. We won the conference both years that he was on the varsity. He was the best pitcher that we had, all-conference performer. And our conference was the Seaway Conference at that particular time. And so we had some really good baseball programs. Ludington was very good at that particular time. Reese Puffer was considered the class of the league because they were a little bit larger than us. Spring Lake had won the state not won the state championship, or runner-up in the state championship the year before Kurt became on the varsity. And so it was a really good league, and Kurt was clearly the best pitcher in the league both years that he was on the varsity. And of course, we're extremely proud. We were a good team, but he was part of the team. He wasn't the only reason we were, but he certainly was a big reason why we were so successful.
We knew who we were. And we were led by Danny Lee. He was our catcher. Danny was a senior. Our third baseman was Andy Norkus. And so we also had Craig Morton, who was on the team for a little while. So you go from left field was Ryan Gim, center Dennis Lee, right field was Matt Fredericks, first base, DJ Dormeyer, second base, Mike Davis, shortstop, Eric DeRuyter. We were arrogant, we were cocky, we were always, it seemed like one situation away from a bench clearing brawl. We were always running our mouths to the other team. And it was funny because Coach Pullman identified that's who we were. He kept us polite and respectful, but he also allowed us to be the arrogant bunch that we genuinely were.
I can still hear Cap now. You know, he had certain quirks about if you picked off and you did something wrong, he would yell head, head, head. And, you know, you could always see Kurt shake his head on the mound when he'd hear that. And, but Kurt was driven to be the best and wanted to just, you know, win at all cost.
There was one game I pitched against Greenville, I threw a one-hitter. And so I was on. I mean, I was really, really dialed in that game. And Coach Pullman had Eric shading towards over the second base because nobody was pulling if they could put the bat on the ball. Listen to me. If they could put the bat on the ball, they weren't pulling it, that was for sure. But the one time this kid stuck his bat out, it went right where Eric should have been playing at shortstop. And it barely trickled in the outfield. And I was kind of miffed at Eric. And I'm like, you couldn't have got that? And he goes, when you pitch, it's boring. I was like, oh man, sorry.
He would walk off the field when he was pitching after an inning. He'd go to his little corner in the dugout. He'd put his coat over his left arm and he would just stare straight ahead. There was a few times I've always wanted to mess with him. I think I did it one time and I learned my lesson. I learned to leave well enough alone when he was in his zone.
So we were in the fourth inning and Coach Pullman had such a way of reclining at about a 17.5-degree angle with his hands behind his head, with his sunglasses / prescription glasses on, with his hat pulled down. And when he was truly mad at you, he wouldn't use your name, he'd use your number. And so Coach yelled out, 19, let me know when you want to learn how to pitch, not just throw. And I stopped and I was like, apparently he's not happy with what I'm doing. No, he wasn't happy. Because I was just throwing. I wasn't being a pitcher. I was under the belief that talent was enough. It's never enough. So he brought me back down to earth and said, if you want to be better, I'm here to show you to be better. It's called preparation. And so I have those words up on my board. Hey, 19, if you want to learn how to pitch, not just throw, let me know. And so now, with my job, the career that I have, I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position that I am. I think about those words that he kind of barked at me, 27 years ago.
Again, I want to just emphasize how proud I am of the fact that he grew and matured during his high school years, and what a great family he has, and how proud they are of him, I'm sure. And again, just the fact that he let his actions speak louder than his words, and that was a major thing for him. And I know that at the end of it all, his teammates respected him. I think the community respected him, and of course he went on and played some college baseball, and I'm sure he represented Fruitport very well in college as well.
Even though Kurt lives in North Carolina, I think now, he still gives back. He still, we still talk yearly. He always wants to know what we have coming up, and he wants to know how he can support. And even when he went away to college at LMC and then to Oakland, he would always come back and work out at the field and help the younger kids.
I guess all I can say now is how proud I am of Kurt. The Fruitport Hall of Fame is well-deserved. It's a well-deserved honor for you, little brother. I'm very happy that the Fruitport baseball program is finally represented in the Hall of Fame. It's long overdue. Lastly, I'll just say I love you and congratulations, you little fart face.
What being inducted into the Fruitport Hall of Fame means to me is that I am a part of a community that values hard work, people with good ethics, those who will never truly leave the school system, the people, the friends. It's something for me that I can always go back to. I can always see that I left a mark. And what's most important to me is that my family's name, the Spyke name, will be there forever in the Fruitport Hall of Fame. It's something that I share because I would not be here talking to you or speaking in front of the group on the 21st of October if it weren't for my mom and dad. They put up with a very competitive, sometimes questionable attitude young man with me. I was very, I like to think a little ahead of my time, but what they did was enable me to be exactly who I was and who I needed to be to become successful. It means the world to me that I'm able to rub shoulders with my friends who are already in: Matt Brink, Stacy Schultz-Lindale, Jared Olson, their class of 97. Class of 97 rules. Jack Spencer. Jack was in the induction class, and 10 years ago, Jack and my dad were great friends. We lost Jack a couple years ago, and he was a very big factor in my baseball life. And not only that, I got to spend a lot of time one-on-one with Jack. So the fact that I'll be next to him in the Hall of Fame as peers, that's just, I never thought I'd be able to say that sentence. And I keep in touch with like Tom Chorney. You look at a guy like him who is he just took a job with the University of Georgia. He's the head cross country coach at a Power 5 SEC school now. I'm able to keep in touch with him from time to time, and just to be a part of this and have my family's name in this Hall of Fame, it means the world to me. It's the most humbling thing I've ever been a part of, and I can't wait to celebrate this day with those who are supporting me, because it's been an outpouring I didn't anticipate. When Nick Reed called and asked if I'd accept the invitation, it left me speechless, and that's a very rare thing for me. And to have it come from him meant even more. So I am so happy, so pleased, so excited to be a part of this, and I can't wait to see those who were inducted before me, and even more, I can't wait to see who are inducted after me, because this is the kind of program that allows the interaction, the support, the continued effort to keep Fruitport what it is. It's a good, wonderful community of hardworking people that truly want the best for everybody that's involved. And I'm now forever a part of that. My family will always be a part of that. And that's what this induction means to me.
But certainly not least, Joyce Vanderstelt, or Mrs. V, is the type of educator that every district parent and student wants. Fruitport was lucky enough to have her for 37 years. She blazed into Fruitport with an energy that would forever change the scope of the district. She founded the Fruitport cheerleading program and coached for many years. She taught physical education and health, and was a part of the team that wrote the first formal health education curriculum for Muskegon County. During her tenure at the high school, she was the first female driver's education teacher in the area, and she started and chaired the Miss Fruitport pageant for many years. She finished her impressive 37-year career at Fruitport Middle School teaching English. Here's more on Mrs. V.
Hi, Mrs. V. I'm here with some of my friends, and we wanted to take a moment to congratulate you on your induction into the Fruitport Hall of Fame. And thank you for all the hard work, all your commitment for all the many years that you've been with FHS. You know, a good coach is always more than just a good coach to you. A good coach is positive, enthusiastic, supportive, trusting, focused, knowledgeable, observant, respectful, patient, and a good communicator. And they're a person you look up to, a good role model, and you were all of that and more. You were not only an awesome cheerleading coach, but you were also a kind, caring, and compassionate teacher. You were there for us with an open door policy. If we ever had anything that we needed to talk about, we knew you were there. Your passion and dedication over all these years has made you a lasting impact on every one of us here for you. But through all those years, we found out there was something you never told us about. Something that you did, like you wrote the Fruitport fight song. Who knew? So in honor of this, and in honor of you, a few of your former cheerleaders are here, and we're gonna sing that song for you. Thank you, Mrs. V, for being a great coach, a great teacher, a mentor, and a friend. We all love you so very much. This one's for you.
We give you our loyalty. Rah, rah, rah. Onward, let's show our might towards victory and success. Fight for our blue and white, down the field for FHS. Loyalty, rah, rah, victory, rah, rah. Trojans are proud of anything. Hear our song, loud and strong. Fruitport is going to win this game. Come on and fight, Fruitport down the field. Fight for victory. Fight, fellows, never yield. We give you our loyalty. Rah, rah, rah. Onward, let's show our might towards victory and success. Fight for our blue and white, down the field for FHS.
I was doing physical education in Tennessee at the time when I was in college.
Okay.
And so that was it. That was the reason that I was doing phys ed. That's when back in the 1960, when I first came here, a promise of a job.
Okay.
I was a physical education teacher, and that's what they needed. So I came here, and we bought a house right down the street from the school, and put our feet under the table right here at Fruitport. 40?
40
I think a little bit more than 40, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Then I began teaching English. I did English. I did physical education and health. I did health ed too.
Okay.
We had a really good health education program.
Okay.
Then the next thing I knew, they were saying, why don't you teach speech? And I said, oh, all right, let's do that. So then I taught speech as well as English. I think my favorite was just the kids. The kids, I love the kids. I mean, Fruitport had the best young people in the world, you know? I mean, there just was nowhere else that had kids like our kids, you know? They were great. I just loved them all. They were never a problem. I like to tell the story that I only sent 2 kids to the office in all the years I taught at Fruitport. And one of them was my son, and one was my daughter. And they love to tell that story. You know, that was the one more word out of you, and you're going to the office. And that word came, and off to the office they went, you know, the whole class laughing. They thought that was so funny. The students, I should call them, the students all wanted to come in my class. I had no difficulty getting students at all. And they loved to come to my class. And we would put, Mr. Vanderwall and I would put both the boys and the girls in the gym. And I can remember all the things that Ross Pope could do on the bars that no one else could do. And it was just great years, great years. I asked for a transfer because I thought I was going to retire, and I wanted to do it all before I retired. I didn't want to leave Fruitport without teaching in every area. So I asked for a transfer to the middle school, and we lived in a little house between the middle school and the Edgewood Elementary. So I watched it go up. I kind of thought it was mine, you know? And like,
the joke is always, whenever she finds out someone didn't go to Fruitport, she asks if they couldn't get in. Every time.
People get a little upset, don't they?
Well, they're always quick to defend wherever they did go. Oh, Reese Popper's nice.
Well, that's hard if you couldn't get in Fruitport.
I grew up with Mrs. Vanderstelt. I remember going to her house and swimming and playing basketball a lot. Me and Chad were really close in age, and so we had a lot of good times together. Buffy was my babysitter, so I was there probably more than my own house. I remember her being such a good teacher, and everyone just loved her. She always opened her house to people, opened her heart to people. She was the neatest lady I've ever met. Everyone knows Mrs. Vanderstelt, Mrs. V.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay. There's no way not to know. You go to the store and everyone knows her.
Yes.
Mrs. V.
And she can name all of her students and their spouses and their children and their parents and their spouses' children and parents and grandparents. And she just knows everybody.
Oh, when I was a little girl in one of our closets that had a lot of toys, she also had all of the pictures of her old students. I remember asking him, like, Grandma, what are these? And she just started listing them. I mean, it's stacks. I mean, I think she kept every single photo she ever received. And she could name everybody.
I believe she really cared. She listened to the kids. I believe she took time and listened to somebody. A lot of times people don't listen to you, and I knew she always listened to people. I know she's opened her house to people when they were having a hard time, and with their parents. I know that she's always done that. She's always been a good individual where her teaching went beyond just teaching. She was just always, and I think the love for the Lord for her really you could tell it when she talked to people, and when you seen her, you knew she was a good teacher that really cared about people.
Thank you so much for even thinking of me. Thank you for the induction. I love Fruitport. I love this school. I love every one of these kids that I had, and I feel very privileged, very privileged.
I had Mrs. V for an English teacher when I was in middle school, and she inspired my love of reading and writing, which led me to a journalism career. So thank you, Mrs. V. As our last inductee of the night, I can't think of a better one to honor. So please welcome Mrs. Joyce Vanderstelt or Mrs. V.
What an amazing night we have had. Stephanie, Colleen, Kurt, Kyle, and Joyce, thank you for sharing your stories with us this evening. And to the many individuals who spoke on your behalf, the stories that were shared about our inductees, their successes and accomplishments, have further validated their nominations into the Fruitport Hall of Fame. Thank you all for your participation in the video process. We also give a huge thank you to tonight's MC, Tara. We appreciate your willingness to return home to be part of this special program, and thank you always for the wonderful job you do. Fruitport High School graduated its first class in the late 60s. So we know there are 7 decades of individuals, groups, and/or teams worthy of Hall of Fame status. We need your help identifying those candidates. Nominations are being accepted for the class of 2024. Nomination forms can be found on the school district website under the Athletics tab, or by using the QR code printed in tonight's program. We encourage you to nominate yourself or someone you know who fits the criteria listed under each of the 3 Hall of Fame categories.
This concludes tonight's induction ceremony. And at this time, we ask that our 5 inductees exit the auditorium and head to the photo stand located outside the Commons area to have pictures taken. As our inductees are exiting the auditorium, we invite all of you to join us in the cafeteria for a complimentary Taste of Fruitport. Vendors from around the neighborhood have prepared a variety of dishes for your enjoyment. Tickets for sodas and bar items can be purchased at a station located inside the cafeteria. We also encourage you to visit with our 5 inductees, further hear their stories, and pursue their displays of memorabilia. For our football fans in the audience awaiting the 7:30 kickoff between rivals Michigan and Michigan State, we will have those games on the monitors as well. The formal ceremony is complete, and now it's time to celebrate our 2023 Hall of Fame class. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and go Trojans.